So welcome back, past guest, and I think probably best as a friend of the show at this point, Eric
Oh,
Nelson.
for sure. For sure. Good to see you.
Yeah, and yourself. So in case anyone's kind of new to the show, so you were on last year. I think it was episode 24. Um, but I think maybe it might be worth just briefly introducing yourself, just so that people know who you are in case they did miss it.
Sure. My name's Eric Nelson, and I live here in California, Willow Creek, California. And I happen to volunteer at a local museum that is famous for Bigfoot. We have a Bigfoot room, and we seem to be the center of attention for a lot of things related to the history of Bigfoot as well.
Excellent. So specifically, I guess if anyone wants to kind of get a bit more info on you, they'll have to go and watch that episode, right? So they can go to the back catalogue. But specifically today, I got you on for my weird news segment because I saw an article on SF Gate, the
That's
SF Gate
correct.
website, and I noticed that you were mentioned in it. You were quoted, in fact. I don't know if you did a specific interview with them for that or if they pulled it from somewhere else.
Honestly, I did a specific interview, and I'm flattered that you were paying attention to what I may be doing. Um, Yeah, this was out of left field. I
Yeah.
guess I briefly summarize, there's a California Assembly member that was just elected this in December. The gentleman came to the Assembly floor and wants to introduce a bill to make Bigfoot the state's official cryptid. And I don't believe there was any pre-talk to this, so it was kind of an interesting surprise.
So no one else was expecting it either at the meeting. He just kind of curveball.
Yeah, and you know what a brilliant move to be known quickly if you're brand new to the Senate, the Assembly, because it made for quick news. And actually, I just perused this on the internet, and there are
Yeah.
scores of news services that are carrying this information.
So what was your personal kind of reaction when you first heard about it?
Well, first, I didn't know that the states of the United States actually had official cryptids, and this may be a first. I don't know. I quickly just did a quick internet search. There have been states that are known for cryptids, but I don't see any other states that actually have an official cryptid. So, kind of brilliant on that move. And my other
Yeah.
reaction is that there are other states that will probably feel that they were duped on this. I believe the state of Washington would feel like, wait a second, we have the most sightings. It should be us.
Yeah, sure. They're going to be fighting over Bigfoot now.
Right, right. It's a brilliant move in terms of
Yeah,
just getting in the forefront of it and bring it back to the front. And so, here in Willow Creek, a
yeah.
number of news articles mentioned our museum and the history of Willow Creek proper and the fact that Bigfoot's a thing here in this town. So it's been a windfall for attention.
So do you know specifically what it's going to mean for Bigfoot to be the official state cryptid?
I believe would be just a point of tourism, maybe, and an interesting conversation piece. This does not enact any protections. It doesn't establish the beast as being real, scientifically proven. So it's
Yeah.
just, I believe, it's a tongue-in-cheek thing. And I looked real quickly. California has a number of state symbols. Here in my background is a picture locally of the redwood trees. It's our
Hmm.
state tree, and it was enacted in 1937. So these things have been around, these symbols in the state of California for years and years and years.
That kind of answers the next question, but I wondered whether you thought maybe this would lead to it being taken a bit more seriously. So could this potentially lead to some kind of legal status for the Bigfoot?
Well, I don't know that. I think there would be many steps that need to be taken. However, there's a county in Washington that on its local ordinances, it's the Skamania, SKA Mania county up there, and it's on their ordinances that you shall not, infringe upon Bigfoot and or kill or take or trespass upon its territory. So there is precedence, but in terms of California, boy, I wouldn't know. I believe
Hmm.
most persons have a little smile on their face in the fact that this is going to be something voted on. And you are aware we have a lot of political change here in the United States, and this is a nice break from Oh, what's
Yeah.
divisiveness?
Yeah. Um, so yeah, so obviously California has a rich history of Bigfoot sightings, and the folklore around it as well. So how do you think the bill would reflect on the kind of cultural connection to the legend?
Well, the cultural, then that's my point I would make is that Bigfoot exists, certainly,
Mm.
whether it's a cultural sociology and
Yeah.
anthropology, or a real flesh and blood. So I would think it's not going to hurt for the conversation. And there are conversations out there, and there are scientists that have stuck their necks out and say, hey, listen, this needs to be studied. We believe there's evidence to move forward and to look at these things. I believe when I spoke to you before, we talked about the DNA project that is going on at North Carolina State University. And we're
Yeah,
asking,
actually, I think that came about shortly after. I know I spoke to you on Messenger about it, but I don't
yeah,
know that that was in the episode.
yeah, it's an effort at North Carolina State University. They have a full DNA program on campus. There's no issue with funding. They have 5 doctors on board, a full PhD program, and what they're looking for is anomalous biological specimens. The gentleman that's Dr. Darby Orcott, the one that's spearheading this, and says, "Listen, there have been rumors that there's some sort of unknown species out there. There's nothing in the genome to represent this. Why wouldn't we ask for these specimens and see if there's disparate samples that have similar markers? And we would run with that." He says, "Our PhD program, our students need to analyze things anyways. So there's a net negative. There's no negative to that portion."
Yeah.
And persons can actually search this further. There's a number of podcasts out there. Just do Darby Orcott, North Carolina State University, and something will pop up. And
Yeah.
ultimately, this is a serious effort. I don't think there'll be anything that comes out for the next couple of years because it's a sensitive subject. And when scientists analyze things, they have to write papers. The papers have to be peer reviewed. They have to be published in scientific magazines. So I don't anticipate anything being leaked, pro or con, anything time soon.
And that is not specifically, they're not actually looking for Bigfoot, are they? It's just DNA in general.
DNA in general, anomalous biological specimens, but however, Dr. Darby Orcott has said that he's interested in Bigfoot, and because there's always been rumors, things have been turned into commercial labs. There's been I've actually asked about this. Is it true that unknown primate has come back from some of these samples? And I've been told yes, commercial labs have turned things back to persons that have turned supposed specimens and given them those results. You got to realize the commercial lab is getting paid to do their work and they need to move on to the
Yeah.
next subject. So they're going to give you what they got and they're not going to go much further because they have things to do.
Yeah. So yeah, just to kind of wrap up on the bill itself, bring it back to that. So from what I gather from the article, it's working its way through the legislature now. So do you know kind of when they'll make a decision on it or anything like that?
I don't. The initial reports were saying that sometime in the near future, there would be a vote on the assembly floor, but they didn't give a date. And so it
Okay.
depends on how well it's received amongst his constituents, right, or his peers. Hopefully, it's taken seriously enough now that it's been popular, and that may have been his
Mm.
aim all along to bring some attention to himself because he's new, and then to maybe get something put forth. I don't know. Nothing's been reported in that regard.
And the other thing I noted is that the bill is number 666, which have you got
Yes.
any thoughts on? Do you think they assigned that number deliberately, or is that just a coincidence? Is that
I'm going to say that's a coincidence because a gentleman that wants to bring attention to himself probably wouldn't want his first bill intentionally to be 666. But I don't know that. But yes, I think almost anybody that's seen the number on the bill probably has a little bit of a start of that. Think, that's interesting.
yeah? I mean, eventually, I guess you've got to get to 666, but
That's
even
correct.
so,
There are some buildings that are built without a 13th floor. So, I mean,
yeah,
couldn't they have jumped that number in general, knowing that it has some symbology?
yeah. So, I mean, I just wanted to point out as well, the favorite headline I saw when I was looking around the internet, sort of for other sources, was this one, which is state bill would make Bigfoot the new face of California. And then it says, time to squash the beef.
It's there's so many fun headlines I'm sure you could play with as a journalist. Anybody
Yeah.
wants eyeballs, and so sometimes how you present the subject to get someone to click on it.
Yes. And actually, it's funny. I just thought actually. So we've got a viewer that's commented on our YouTube that are saying that they've seen a couple in the UK and they're willing to come on the podcast. So hopefully soon we're going to have someone on that says they've actually seen, because I know we discussed briefly whether they might exist in the UK. So it's going to be interesting to maybe get a first-hand perspective
Yeah,
of that.
that's fascinating, and actually, I'll look forward to it. So when you asked me that originally, you did an episode on the big cats, and
Mm,
so do you have the environment that will support an elusive, top-notch predator? Yes, you do, and the big cats are probably a prime example.
yeah, yeah. Is there anything else you want to add about this or anything else before we wrap up?
You know, Yes, so actively there are still persons that are quote unquote Bigfooters out there. And I just spoke to a gentleman the other day that's local, and he and his they call themselves Bigfoot Wilderness Research, and they've had a lot of success in this region in the last 2 or 3 years. And I just spoke to him 2 days ago. Actually, I texted, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he said they were in the region and they had some activity. They heard some vocalizations, a wood knock, and some tree structure activity that looked unique to the region. At this time of year, there aren't any humans in the region because you have to hike in. All the gates are closed to vehicle access.
Right.
So there
Yeah.
are ongoing persons that are out there pushing into the wilderness and into the forest that are actively looking and believe that they have patterns that substantiate an elusive Bigfoot.
Wow.
We did have a young man that came over last month. The young man is a senior at Cambridge. He was doing his senior thesis on Ivan T. Sanderson. Ivan T. Sanderson is considered the father of cryptozoology. He
Yeah.
wrote the book on abominable snowmen. He was educated at Cambridge. And so gentleman, that young man's name was Alex Stevenson, and he's writing his thesis. He spent 3 days here researching some of our materials, and he went to another museum after that. And we look forward to seeing and reading his thesis. But most importantly, an academic had approached here from the UK, and
Mm,
there's a connection there. So when people tongue in cheek and laugh about this, there's a definitive history to Bigfoot, and
yeah.
there's a prime example right there.
Yes. And I have emailed him actually about
Oh,
coming on
good.
the show. We haven't set a date yet because it was difficult with his schedule and our schedule. We haven't set anything yet, but you mentioning it has reminded me I need to send him another email to see if we can set
Outstanding.
something up.
He was a
Hopefully
he
we can
was
do an
a
episode.
very he was a very nice young man. I really enjoyed working with him, and very bright, very bright.
Yeah, and it would be interesting to do kind of a bit of a, I suppose, a deep dive into Sanderson himself, I guess, because we haven't done
The
that yet.
gentleman was fascinating. He traveled the world in search of these unknown, unproven creatures, and just a brilliant individual, one of those human beings that had energy to spare.
Have you got, do you want to share your social media for the museum or anything like that?
Um, we're gonna update our website here soon, but we do have our bigfootmuseum.com, I believe, is the website, and we're gonna refresh that. And there is a new person providing social media on Instagram for that. So if a person wants to access, she posts things weekly, if not daily, and we're going to be a little more active in that regard. And attention like this just kind of prompts the idea that, hey, listen, this is a popular subject, and we're going to get a lot more eyeballs.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly where I saw the article originally was on the Instagram.
Perfect. And I'll
Yeah,
pass that along. I'll pass that along to
yeah,
her.
yeah.
We're just
And
an all
obviously,
organization. There's only I think 8, 9 of us right now. Sometimes there's more or less. Volunteer organizations go that route, and right now we have a really a younger crew. I'm 58, so people in their 30s that are college educated and have some skills. One's a digital archivist, and we're going to digitally archive the entire collection at the museum, which is sorely needed. And
yeah.
persons that are graphic designers and persons that are motivated and excited. So that's fun.
So yeah, just to remind anyone as well, if you didn't see Eric's last appearance on the podcast, then go back to episode 24. And we obviously dive a bit deeper into the whole phenomena, as we say, including some UK stuff as well. So yeah, thank you for your time again, Eric.
Hey,
Much
thanks, Greg. And
appreciated.
listen, moving forward on this, anything that I'll let you know if it gets ratified to become a
Yeah,
cryptid in California, and I'll pass along any information that seems to be interesting, and keep in touch with you and
brilliant.
your use.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well,
Right.
cheers, and say hello to Andy for me, please.